All right, this is the second episode of Blues for Beginners. We talked about our 7 chords, E7, A7, and B7 last time. Now we're going to talk about these next 7 chords. We have G7, and when you hear G7, that means G dominant 7, which means a bluesy type chord. It mixes elements of major and minor together to get this twang. So what we have here is the 3 and 2 from a G like we normally have, but we have a 1 on the bottom string with those opens. So that's G7. Now if we move down here to a C, we put this pinky here on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. We get a C7. And then our next one is going to be D7. So it's like a D, but it's kind of inverted. Open 2, 1, 2 is D7. So our new ones are G7, C7, and D7. Now with those 3 chords, we could play blues in the key of G. Last time we talked about 8-bar blues and 12-bar blues and how to kind of negotiate those changes. So we're going to do that same thing. We're going to do an 8-bar blues in G now. So I'm going to go G, and then I'm going to go down to that C7, which can take a little getting used to, that one. And G7 again, down to C7, and then D7, turnaround chord, back to C7, G7, and D7. And we can end on the G7. So that would be our 8-bar blues. G is the 1 chord, C is the 4 chord, and in an 8-bar blues you commonly go from the 1 to the 4 and the 1 to the 4 again. And then we're going to go to our D7, which is the 5 chord, the turnaround chord. And then we go back to the 4, and then we have 1, and we end with the 5. So 1, 4, 1, 4, 5, 4, 1, 5. That's what we're doing. So let's try to play along with that. 2, 3, 4. D7, C7, G7, D7. Okay, now something that you can do in this key is play that easy blues scale we talked about, the minor pentatonic. This would be the G minor pentatonic. So we got 3 and 6 on the big string, 3 and 5. And that goes 3 times in a row, and then we have 3, 6 twice. So you can play that scale. Do anything you want with it besides just going straight up and down. And you're improvising and you're playing the blues and making up your own solos. So how about this? I'm going to play these chords. How about you try to do a solo with this scale here? And think about maybe using some vibrato when you'll want to hold a note. You could try to do a little bends. This is a really good string to try a little bend on. This is really the best one to start with. And when you do a bend, you want to put these other fingers behind it to help you get up there higher, right? Okay, so let's give it a shot. You could either play the chords with me or you could try to take a solo. Let's try it. 2, 3, 4. All right, how'd you do? Let me know in the comments how this is coming along for you, and if you need any other kind of tips or if you have any questions and things like that. Okay? So once again, that blues scale was this. Now here's a trick if you want to add a note in that. Makes it more bluesy. That gives you the official blues scale. The blues scale with what's called the flat fifth. It also appears right here on the 6th fret of the 3rd string. So that's a cool note to add. You get cool riffs like that. So last lesson we had the E7. So let's see in the key of E minor pentatonic where that flat fifth belongs. There it goes right there. It's that B flat note. 1st fret of the 5th string. And then it's going to come back right here. 3rd fret of the 3rd string. Okay, and then G. Okay, now if we wanted to switch to another key, like say the key of A, here's the A right here. We just do that scale up here. If we wanted C, well here goes a C. And we could play our blues in the key of C very, very easily. Okay, and if you wanted to add the flat 5th note, see how these patterns are always just the same? It's just where you start them on, put you in a different key. All right, now let's look at a different key. So if we had A to start, we would go down to D. Back to A. D. And then E7. Back to D7. And then A7. Back to the E7. And you could play your blues up here on the 5th fret. Let's try that. 2, 3, and. Back to D. And then A to E. Once again, we got A to D twice. Then we got our turnaround, got our E to the D, back to the A, and then our turnaround again on the E. All right, now I want to tell you about a 12 bar. That was an 8 bar blues. So a 12 bar goes in its most basic form. It can be a lot of things. So it's going to go to the A to the D, but it's going to stay on the A there. And then it's going to go to the D, but it's going to stay there too. 2, 3, and then back to A twice. 2, 3, 4, 1. And then we're going to start our same turnaround. 5, E, down to the 4, which is the D, and then A, back to the E. And this one is easier to solo over because you have more time on each chord. Like right here, you can get into the sounds of that chord for a bit longer before you have to switch chords. Because each time a chord switches, the notes you're playing, they sound different. There goes our turnaround. In the next lesson, we're going to start talking about honky-tonk rhythm. Okay, that's a little sample of honky tonk rhythm, and we're going to relate that to the song Call Me the Breeze, done by Leonard Skinner and written by J.J. Cale. So we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.